Hello lovely people, welcome to another video in the DIS-TANZEN series. I'm here back again for the third time with my friend Paul, the sound engineer who's been helping us with the setup. And this is probably the video you all have been waiting for. This is the moment where we are actually showing you how do we actively synchronize the sound inside of Ableton and later in OBS, so that in Zoom we have the voice, the music and the video all perfectly synchronized. All right, I'm very excited to have you here again, Paul. Take it away.
Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at our Ableton session. We explained all of this in detail in the last video, so we won't go into too much detail of it now, but just for you to have an overview of what we have here, I'm going to go through it again. First of all, we have our microphone group. This one is where our microphone signals are coming in. We made here two microphone inputs for the moment, but for the video we are only using one of it. Then after that we have our music group. This one is having two tracks at the moment. One is the Spotify input, so we can play Spotify tracks and route it through our system and get the signal here. And also we have one track for playback files, where we can just put some files in and play them back.
Can I just add?
Yeah, sure.
For the Spotify, we just chose to put Spotify there. You can put your iTunes list. You can put anything you want. You can connect that, and you do that via loopback. I'm just gonna quickly show that one. Right now we have Spotify written here, but that's just a choice we made. You can put in iTunes. You can put in basically anything you want to play music from. You need inside of loopback. Here, anything we put to channel 3 and 4. So here we have Spotify or QuickTime Player. You can add more options here. For example, if you have iTunes, you could just add that to your list. So basically, this channel here on Spotify is your music player device, whatever you choose that to be.
And also to add for this, you could also make them appear, all these players, in separate channels. We chose to mix them up all on channel 3, 4, because we only need one channel here, but you could also say, okay, this is 3, 4, and then you choose here for another pair of output channels, and then you can say, okay, QuickTime Player is coming on 3, 4, and Spotify is coming on 9, 10, for example, and then you could adjust volumes here separately for these programs.
True, nice.
Okay, so this would be our music playback thing. After that, we have one channel here which is called music recording. This one is used for all the music that comes into our system through this input we were talking about earlier. From Spotify, for example, we can just press record here and record files from Spotify, for example, and afterwards drag them back into our playback files to have the possibility of a playback list for your sessions without always going back to Spotify and choose files from Spotify.
You can also then speed up and slow down the tempo.
Then we have two tracks here which are used to send our music, first of all, into our master bus, which is this one where everything is mixed, and then going out to OBS and afterwards to Zoom. And we have another one which is set music to monitor, and monitor would be this device here, where we put our headphones on and can listen to the music while dancing. And teaching. This one says delay, this one says no delay. We come to that in a minute, why we need these both and how to set up the delay on that one. Afterwards we have one track which is called control listening. This one is taking the input of OBS back into our system. So that one is used, it's turned off at the moment, but that one you can turn it on, and that one is used then to control what you are feeding into OBS and into the stream, which is really important before you start the stream, to make a little sound check and set levels up maybe, or if people tell you're too loud or you're too soft, then you can just check things in your own ears to hear exactly what people hear in the stream. After that we have our Zoom participants, which is just the people talking back to you. And then we have one folder here which is called syncing process, And this is the tracks we need for the process of setting our delays. So this is what we will deal with during the next step.
Yeah. And again, you can find this whole project on our website and download it on swingstep.tv in the free section. We're gonna put a link here, and you'll also get this click file included into that file, so that you can just use this project just the way it is and just do those small adjustments that you would need for your own system to get it and get everything synchronized.
Okay, so let's go on with the process of syncing. First of all, let's have a look again on how the audio takes its way through the system again. And we will focus on the music side and on the listen back through the monitor and the microphone on this part. So what happens when we play music through the system? We press play here somewhere, and the music is then going directly into OBS. So there is virtually no or really a tiny bit of latency involved during that process to route audio from here to here. At the same time, the music is going through your headphones. So there is a little bit of output delay involved because the music has to go through our sound card and through the output of our sound card. And this takes a bit of time to process audio in the sound card. So there is a bit of latency involved here. After that, also not to forget, this in our case it's a wireless headset, so it goes from the output of the sound card to the wireless transmitter, and from there it goes wirelessly to this little device and then into our headphones. So this also adds a bit of latency. After that, we react to that music. So we react in like dancing and clapping. And this is recorded by the microphone, of course, our reaction to that music. And so what comes into the system again, this goes into the sound card, of course. There's also some kind of delay involved because it goes into the input of the sound card and there's processed again. So what comes into that system while playing music, reacting to it and recording it again is plenty bit later. If we send that to OBS and mix it with a direct music, then the direct music going directly into OBS. So this is the problem we are dealing with, that we have to adjust for that time difference with the delay setting.
Should we then go to Ableton and solve the problem?
Let's see how to do it. So what we did now is we created a track which is called click playback. And here we can play a click. And this click is going to our monitor, so to this track virtually, and this track is saying click to monitor. So here the click is taken from that track and sent to external out 3.4, which is our monitor. And then we set things up that the output of our wireless transmitter for our headphones is connected directly to the wireless microphone input. We show that in a moment, and then it's going directly into the system again. So we can record that long path, so to say, in this track here, click monitor recording, where we just record the input 1, which is our microphone input. Here we have another track which is taking the signal from the click playback directly. So this is the short way with no delay. So this is just going there, and the short way and the long way through whole of the monitor chain and the microphone input through that one. So what we can do now is we just play back the click, record on both of these tracks, and then we should see some clicks here and some clicks coming later through the long path. And then we can look in the software how much delay this is and adjust for it in the program.
So we will need to plug these together. So usually you would have your headphone on this signal receiver, and you put right now what's the name of this cable?
In Germany it's Mini-Klinke.
Mini-Klinke, that's the name of it. You put it on the onto your microphone. So right now you just closed the loop, and this one is then picked up by the receiver here. So we just close the whole loop. I'm gonna put this on, and maybe we turn off that monitor for a while.
Okay,
great.
It's turned off.
So now the whole system is hooked up. Let's put on click.
Yeah, we just
turn everything on.
Turn everything on. And first of all, we stop everything which is running maybe. And first of all, just play the click and look if we got inputs everywhere. We got input on our click direct, and we got input on our microphone input. This is a little bit too much signal, so I'm adjusting on the gain of the sound card to equal roughly with the other one, which makes it a bit easier to compare afterwards. Yeah. So okay, everything is running and everything is working. We see on the difference of level here that this one is coming a bit later, because this one is the long path. So now what we can do is just press record. First of all, we arm these two tracks to say Ableton it should record it, and then we record it. We switch to the other view of Ableton, scroll down a bit to see it, and there we go. These are our two samples. We have something pre-recorded here, but we don't care for that for the moment. Yeah. Okay, we stop it, and now let's go to the files and look for it. So we zoom in a bit, and let's take, for example, this one here. So we see this one is coming first, and this one is the other one, which is taking the long route. So we just put our marker on the start of things. For that purpose, I will zoom in a bit more. This will be enough. And on the reading down here, we can see milliseconds. So we are about 665 here.
So I'm gonna take a calculator on my phone or on your computer, and you go 665 as the first measure, and then you go and look for the second part.
On the second part, I do the same. I zoom in, and we get around 705.
Okay.
704, sorry.
So I'm gonna go minus 704. So we have 665 minus 704, and we see is minus 39 in the delay, and that's the unit we want to use.
Yeah. So what we know now is that the long path takes 39 milliseconds.
Exactly.
It takes longer than the short one.
Exactly.
So what we have to do now is, down here we can put our delay into a track. So the one which is coming earlier is the direct recording. This one is coming early, and this one is taking the long one. So we have to delay that one to match with that one.
Exactly.
For you to listen to that, let's play back the files we were recording.
Exactly. Now we need the monitor back on again.
Okay, so once we made that recording and we were seeing this time shift here, let's play back this file for you to make the difference hearable. One little note, we have a really good quality sound card, and we have really low latency settings already on it. So that delay of 39 milliseconds is barely hearable, but it makes a huge difference in timing after you set it correctly. Yeah. When you have a setup which have a little bit higher buffer sizes because your computer is not able to handle audio so well, maybe or your sound card is not so well designed, then it will be way much, and then it's even more important to adjust for that. So I created a little loop here, and we play back both of these files, and hopefully you can hear that it makes a little dring dring dring. As I said, it's barely hearable. But once I put in the value here, 39 milliseconds, we hear that it syncs up.
Yeah.
So the difference is really there. So now we have only one sound, and I go back again. Now we have two sounds. If you have a higher value, then maybe it sounds like something like this. Or even something like this on your system. So you really can hear 2 clicks, and then the effect of syncing up is even more dramatic, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have now is we found out with this folder and this little recording process, we found out the value which we have to enter in our path to go to OBS to sync up with the long route. So we delay the short route to match up with the long route, so we make the short route as long as the long route. That's why we have these 2 tracks here, which take their signal from the music group. One is going directly to the master, and one is going to our monitor path. So the one which is going directly to our master has to be delayed now. So we put in the value, we measured last time we measured it was 43, so we corrected this a little bit now. So now let's put in 39 milliseconds on here. So what happens now is that what you're hearing and reacting and put back into Zoom is perfectly aligned with what's going into Zoom directly.
Yeah. I just want to add, with using Ableton, especially loopback, it's actually very stable. The whole system means you don't need to do this process every time. You do it once right, and then it's there. It's different for us because we changed settings. We changed also the path a little bit, so that's why it's a little bit different. But this is the beautiful thing of loopback, for example, compared to the free options, is you do not need to set this up every time you want to use it, just once.
Okay, to sum up things, now we are on a point where our audio, which is mixed and send it to OBS, is perfectly in sync. So what we have to deal next with is to get our audio and our video in sync, because things are not aligned in OBS yet.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to OBS. So this was maybe not the transition you were expecting, going from Ableton to OBS and Zoom. Unfortunately, that day, Paul and I ran into a lot of problems. We tried for 8 hours trying to figure everything out, but later we realized 2 things happened. One, the laptop was running some background services like a software update, but also on some of the softwares we didn't pay attention that to make sure to have the same audio sample rate and video frame rate across the whole chain. So another day, unfortunately today I'm without Paul, and I'm just going to show you that second part. And in order for you to save your 8 hours, I want to start with checking that, help you check that your sample rates and video rates are correct, and then we move on to the next step. Here are all the software I'm using in this chain. I'm gonna start with just randomly, I'll start with Focusrite Control. This is, if you click on the wheel here, this is my sound card, so you'll have to check what it is on your sound card. I want to make sure the sample rate is on 48 kilohertz. This is what we decided to keep across the board, and because especially some softwares do not give you opportunity to adjust for it, and then typically the standard is 48, so they are set to that. And for example, for Zoom, I didn't change it. I don't know where to do it, and when I googled Zoom audio sample rate, the 48K was what seems to be the standard for Zoom as well. Then ATEM Mini this is the capture card software. So I go to the wheel here and making sure that my frame rate is 1080p 30. That's what my camera has as well. So you want to make sure it matches your camera setting. And then let's go to Ableton. In Ableton preferences, here I want to make sure again sample rate 48 kilohertz, so that's good as well. And we are now at OBS. For OBS, I'm gonna go to settings, and in video here, this is the setup I have, 1080 here and then the 30 frame rates. I've been going with this one. I don't know if it was important for me to change this output scale resolution as well. The higher both of them are, of course, the more load it puts on your computer. So this seems to work for me to have this resolution as lower than, but as long as the base one is at the same as my camera. So I'm saying I'm happy with that one. Then Final Cut Pro or iMovie, depending on if you want to use the free version or the Final Cut Pro version. If you start a new event, here you'll see that the video is on 1080p, the frame rate is on 30, and the stereo is 48 kilohertz. Good. Now everything is aligned. We are happy. The next thing we need to do is to making sure OBS has everything it needs in order to connect to Zoom. Fortunately, OBS now has its own embedded virtual camera, so that whole part has been removed. The part that is left now is that we add a virtual cable. For the virtual cable, what you do is we're gonna borrow a trick from our friend Benedict's video, where you go to this website vbaudio.com and download this virtual cable. I'm on a Mac, so I'm gonna download this one and install this. I have already done this. Then if I go to settings, now I can see here, I can put the monitoring device to VB cable. And of course, just to double check that my mic auxiliary audio is on Ableton to OBS, and everything else is turned off. Ableton to OBS, as a reminder, that is coming from Loopback. So I have created a connection between Ableton and OBS inside of Loopback, and this is the one now that I'm putting here. So I get the signals from Ableton. So anything that comes into the master out 1, 2 is going to OBS, is going to this one. So we get the intro here. You can see it working here as I'm talking as well. Good, that is working. Now, another place you want to pay attention to is advanced audio properties. Here you want to make sure monitor only mute output is on. You'll see here that I've already set my sync offset, but I will of course explain how I decided on this and what you want to do for yourself. Now, the chain between Ableton that Paul and I showed, like you do all the synchronization here, the delay is already set, and part of it is sent to anything that is music. For example, if I put on music, let me stop it now. Anything that is music goes into the music file, goes into just the 3 and 4 channel. That's for me for the monitoring, because the delayed version is going into the OBS. So the OBS is getting the delayed version so that it's synchronized with my microphone. That was what Paul and I worked on. And that goes into here. Now we need to go to Zoom. We're going to start a new meeting. And now when we're here, the delay you see on the screen is because right now my computer is running screen recording and OBS and Ableton. Like, there's a ton of machinery going right now in the background. So this is going to be just fine when you're not running so many of the functions. So under video, I press the arrow here and I make sure I choose OBS virtual camera. Then I get the camera. Then under mute, on this one here on the arrow, I want to make sure that the microphone is set to VB cable. And because you'll make it work with other systems as well. So you can choose the MacBook Air microphone and it's going to be working. But If you're not using the VB cable, you're not getting the Ableton track, and then you're not going to be synchronized. So that can trick you up a little bit. And what happens in the speaker is not important, I think, because Ableton is taking care of that. So I'll still keep it on Scarlett here, which is the sound card. So I'm happy with that. What happens now is, if I'm happy with everything, I see that the sound is working. You can also go in audio setting, because it also allows me to show you one more thing. So I can see that it's working here. And if I test speaker, that's working too. And one other thing we want to do is to show in meeting option to enable original sound. That one is an important one. When you come here, now original sound is set to off. You need to switch this on to on, because when it's on off, Zoom is going to do its own thing to the audio and try to figure out what's music, what's background noise, what's voice, and it's not so good at it. So when you put it to on, then it ignores all of that, and it just takes the sound from what we just put in. It doesn't do any influencing. And because Ableton is handling a lot of the filtration and everything and synchronization, that's exactly what we want. Now, all is left is to test this setup. So we need to figure out, is our video and sound in OBS synchronized, or do we need to, is the sound ahead or the video ahead? So what you want to do is to record something.
Recording in progress.
So I'm just going to do check recording everything. And so first I'm just talking a little bit to get my mouth movements and see if that is matching. Then I try with some claps or these claps. But most importantly, I want to also check that it works with music. So if I put a song on, how is that? Am I happy with the timing? Okay, this was the recording I did over Zoom. I noticed that everything is nicely synchronized, the music is working, the sound level is working. But if it weren't, this is what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna reshare my screen and walk you through the process you need to go through in order to see if it weren't synchronized. Once you have a file, what you want to do is to watch the file and just decide whether or not the sound is ahead or the video is ahead. And all things considered, you need to delay what's ahead rather than speed up what's behind. Of course, if you would manage to speed up, it's much better for you, because then the lower the delays are, the more natural the conversation will feel also for you from your side of the camera, because the more delayed it is, when you take an action, you see it much later on the screen. That can be a little bit distracting. Or when you're having a conversation, it takes a little bit between your participants over Zoom when they say something and when you reply. There's a little bit of delay, so you want to keep that delay as low as possible. Actually, let me first talk about what we've done in order to reduce the delay. One of the things we did is in Ableton, we reduced the buffer size. Before, we initially had 512 samples, and that results in more consistently good sound, but it delays the sound a little bit more. Then we reduced to 64. 64 creates enough stability. There's occasionally some sound issues that happens, but it's very rare, and it depends also on your internet connection. So you have to try the buffer size in order to see what's the lowest you can go. So this depends on your internet connection, your strength of your computer, and so on. If you change this, you will also need to come back and redo the sync test, because when you change that, the sync gets out. So that's one way to make sure everything has as little delay as possible from the setup, where you try to reduce the buffer size. The other thing is, of course, what kind of capture card you have and what kind of camera you have. And ideally, if your camera can be directly connected to the laptop without a capture card, because that again reduces delays. So some cameras have now developed softwares where you can go directly into your computer and you don't even need a capture card. And otherwise, also depends on the quality of the capture card. So in my case, I found out by putting the file here. So I opened Final Cut Pro or iMovie, and just gonna zoom in a little bit, keeping everything analog like this so you can see. So by paying attention to when the hand touches and when the sound comes, okay, you maybe noticed that here there was this green click, and as well as I could hear it. I want to make sure those are as tight as possible. But in this case, it's all synchronized, and because I'm recording at the same time, I can't do experiments anymore. On the laptop is not able to handle both. So, but you might notice that if your camera is later, then what happens is already here you might start hearing a sound, or somewhere rather here you might start hearing the click sound. Then you know your audio is ahead. If your audio is ahead, you can try to count the frame rates, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you see, okay, now the hand touched, so I'm 4 frame rates, and you calculate. But to be honest, easier, just doing it by try and error, it's almost easier. And the way you do that then is you come here, you go to Advanced Audio Properties in OBS, and here in the sync offset, you need to try. You maybe start with go 60 milliseconds, and then you record the whole process, put it in Final Cut Pro, check again, are you happy? If not, then you test again. Depending on if your audio now went behind or is still ahead, you need to make adjustments. And in my case, I ended up with 23 milliseconds, was pretty nice. If I have more patience, I could probably improve that even more. If, however, your situation is the other way around, where you notice here that the video is faster than the audio, then what you need to do is you come here and you click on your video source. So that's, if I close this one, you see that that's my video source. You right click and you go to filters, and here there is you can go plus, there's a video delay function, right? And you click on that, and here you can choose to delay the video. So both is possible in OBS. You can either delay the video, or you can delay the audio, depending on what your needs are. So once you tried all of this, what you can do is to go back to Zoom, and you basically do the first thing. You do the first thing I did. You put on the Zoom video. You make sure your original sound is set to on. Of course, you want to double check that it's really your virtual camera. I like to put in a little logo in OBS so I know that I'm actually using it. It gives me a security, because basically if I show that as well, here I have put a logo because then I can notice immediately if I am sharing the same video through one camera or the other one. So this is the correct one for me. Also here, VB cable, Scarlett, everything is good. I'm recording.
Recording in progress.
I'm doing all my tests. I can even here go for putting on music. So I'll put on a music. And you can clap and snap and so on that. and see how the recording is. So this was the setup for how to get perfectly synchronized music, voice, and video, all the way going from Ableton to OBS to Zoom. It's a little bit complex, but you can make it work, and it works really nice and it's consistent. And once you figure everything out, that's it. Enjoy your setup. Good luck with everything. Good luck with your online classes. This is gonna be the last video of the setup. And unfortunately, Paul is not here for us to thank him for all the work he put into this. So Paul, thank you for this. DIS-TANZEN, thank you so much for the sponsoring and financing of all of these videos. All right, enjoy.